Hi guys, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and again, we're in my series of decoding Crowley's Thoth Tarot, okay? It is not the easiest deck to navigate, I know that from personal experience, and I'm still not fully understanding of how it works. So I would really like to explore that together with you guys. If you're new to my channel, I know that the Thoth Tarot is bringing a lot of new viewers into my channel. I have a channel on witchcraft and herbalism and workings. We include hoodoo, we include moonwork, I mean, anything you can think of. Color magic, not magic, using balut eggs in workings. I mean, anything you can think of. And I draw in a lot of taxidermy, as you can see. This is Effie, my cougar, and she is a full, like, I call her a fireplace mount. We used to keep her in front of the fireplace. So, in this episode of Decoding Crowley's Tarot, we are on to the chapter of, last episode we talked about the Kabbalah, and we are reading out of this book, which is the Handbook to the Cards, alright? I highly suggest that you, okay, if nothing else, there's this little book that comes with the cards, and it says at least a little snippet on each card. Then there's this old vintage book that goes through the suits, the arcana, the minor arcanas, right? And so this book has pages and pages on each card. So I'm really excited to get there, but before we get there, we have to understand how everything works. So we're reading this entire book from start to finish, and there's so much to say. So in this very episode, we are talking about how you can learn to read the cards. The next section is from asking the question to interpreting the answer, as well as the interpretation. And guess what? Right after that, we finally get into the frequently asked questions video, which is going to be quite long because I've got 2 books of frequently asked questions. If you guys have questions, you can put them in the comments, but I promise that I might not have all the answers. I can tell you from my intuition, and I can ask Spirit for the answer for you, but I am not a professional tarot reader by any means. I use it as a form of divination, but I have a lot of forms that I use as well. So the purpose of these series is so that I myself can improve and that we can do this together. So I think that's fun. So let's start. How can you learn to read the cards? Alright. The cards speak in images. And images are the language of the soul. I really like that first phrase right there. So even if you, and a lot of times when you ask somebody how to read tarot, one of the first things they'll tell you is go by your gut first, you know, try to get to know the cards without even reading about them. What does it mean to you when you first look at it? And, you know, on each card, my cards aren't directly at hand, on each card, there's going to be a different image. When you look at that image, what is the first thing you think of? That is your intuition. That is also, if you're able to really listen, clairaudience. And you have to trust that that's what that is. But if you listen to videos on how to get tap into your clairaudience, and in my personal opinion, and I've been working with clairaudience since I was a little girl at 4 and 5 years old, and that's a kind of a sad story, but that's my opinion too, is clairaudience is what some people might be confused with intuition and that voice in your head, but there is a difference between the two. So alright, so let's just say whoever wants to learn the language of the cards must, similar to those who interpret dreams, learn the language of the soul. The process of this development is similar to learning a new language after overcoming a possible initial self-conscious. We have our first spontaneous, successful experiences. However, it is only the practice that leads us to growing security and differentiated manner of expression. So the more you practice, the more that you work with it, the more easily and quickly answers will come to you, is my guess on kind of what that means. Okay. Though the values set for us by our society, we Westerners are schooled primarily in abstract thought and casual logic, but less in imagistic thinking and analogous conclusions. This means that we can easily express a problem in a word or understand it when it isn't impaired to us through words. We can also put the problem into an abstract level by finding a general formula and in its root, and we believe that we can also explain cause and effect. All of this is the language of consciousness striving for clarity. Consciousness striving for clarity. That's a sad expression. It makes me sad. But it's beautiful if you can do it. And I think the reason it makes you sad is because we're not there yet. But we would all like to be in that 46 and 2, right? 46 and 2 is just ahead of me. Tool, also, the band Tool. Search Tool and the Kabbalah, or Danny Carey, the drummer, and the Kabbalah. He sets his drum set up in the shape of the Kabbalah, and also, if you're wondering why it takes so long for new Tool songs to come out, it kind of has to do with the Kabbalah, so, or it can if you think about it. But watch those Danny Carey videos and the way he sets up his drum set. The drumming of the band Tool is by far, like, mind-blowing. Alright. And when I say the shape of the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, there we go, that last video we did. Come on, light. Alright. So, the language of unconsciousness is different. Did I already say that? This is why it's not too tough. It is difficult in the beginning to make this meaning so accessible to consciousness that it formulates a statement in words, making what the images want to express clear to the interpreter as well as the asker of the question. We already know that a picture says more than 1,000 words. Come on. Anyway, that is the reason why this book explains the multi-leveled symbolic background of each card. On the one hand, yet it also provides help in interpreting, so that each card can be understood in relationship to the various directions of the questions. The prerequisite for good interpretation of the cards is that the language of the image becomes that of everyday usage. In this respect, it is helpful to draw a daily, a weekly, and a monthly card, respectively. Now that's if you're drawing for yourself and asking daily questions, or if you're just trying to understand how the card works, and it will go into that a little bit more right here. I'm really wanting to start trying to do this and do just like a 1-card daily journal, or a 2-card daily journal. Even if it was just for a month. This is done as follows. Draw a card in the morning of each day. In the beginning of the day, from only the 22 trump cards of the Arcana, of the major Arcana. Later, from all of the 78. And additionally, a card at the beginning of the week or the month. Observe then where and how each of the themes is expressed for you within that time period. In doing so, you will recognize that, for example, death can mean that you have lost something important, involuntary departure, or that the art card shows you are successful in finding an important solution, that you have found the right attitude, the right connection, and the right proportion in a mixture, in a sensitive manner. In this way, you will become playful, more familiar with the everyday language of the cards and the various levels through direct observation. The key to the deepest meaning of the cards, however, lies hidden in the myths that humanity has told itself for thousands of years. An occupation with the old books of wisdom, Akashic records, with the oral and imagistic tradition of early cultures leads to the encounter with archetypes of the soul and of the tarot. Now the next section is called Asking the Question to Interpreting the Answer. How must the question be asked? Technique. How must the question be asked? Technique. You can ask the question aloud or quietly. Repeat them a number of times and or write them down. Do this totally as you please. No method is better than the other. It is only important to make clear to yourself what you want to know, and to not concentrate on the question after you have asked it. So, ask the question, spirits heard it because you said it aloud either quietly or like you're speaking now, or even, spirit guides! I mean, if you want to, you sure could, you sure could shout, but I never whisper to my spirit guides, and if I'm in the car, I'm like, just as loud as I would be in my home. Oh my gosh. Dinner last night, it's funny. I can't be quiet. That's why I don't leave the house. I was in a restaurant last night and just my normal talking voice was so loud. It kind of echoed through the place where we're at, and my family was like, Mom, shh. Okay, yeah. No method is better than the other. Make it clear to yourself. Right, so ask the question aloud, then clear your mind, and make it fresh. You could even forget about the question. Just make sure you wrote it down or that you remember or it's on video. Concentrate on the question after you have asked it. Continue by, maybe by concentrating on it, you could visualize what's happening, or visualize, the issue at hand or the topic at hand, just maybe like that. Concentrate on the question after you've asked it. Don't concentrate on the question after you've asked it. Continue by drawing a card with calmness and composure, turning it over and interpreting it. So ask your question, flip the card. Don't be haunted by the question anymore and think, how does the question apply to the card? Just look at the card and feel. Really open up your soul to feeling and listen. And those first images this is me talking, obviously, those first images that pop in your head, those first thoughts. If I say the word kitty, what's the first word you think of? And that means something, like how it resonates with you. Same thing with these cards. How do they resonate with you? And those words that the first thing that pop in your head, figure them out. And then apply that. And try and work with it like that. Alright, continue by drawing a... Right. With regard to the contents, ask the question in the way it comes to you. Now, the other day I told you to ask it like you would the law of attraction. Take that out, because I didn't know that this book was going to say this. So please take that out when I said law of attraction. In general, if you're going to be saying things out loud in the world of alchemy, you are going to want to state it as though it's already happened to get the best result. In tarot, say it how it comes to you, because that's probably the way that will resonate best with spirit, is my guess. Alright. Ask the question in a way that it comes to you. It is not a manner of successful formulation, but rather only that you are conscious of that to which your unconscious will soon give you an answer. You're asking a question to yourself, right? Because you're asking the question. In this scenario, there's nobody else here with us. You're asking the question, and then doing just kind of like a pause of your mind, and then interpreting. And that's what makes it difficult to do it correctly for yourself. And that's why a lot of people tell you not to read for yourself, is because we have this, because our ego gets in the way, right? We're like, if it's for somebody else, you can tell them all about how bad things could be. But when it's for you, you're like, shit, so know that going in. But this book right now is telling us to practice like this on our own, okay? It is also adequate to simply ask, I would like to know how this or that will continue. So let's say for me, I always have little work issues here and there, but they're never anything giant, at least anymore these days. I could say, you know, for the rest of my time at my work until I move to Texas, you know, will it be, and you don't want it to be a yes or no answer because the cards are going to tell you the story. How will my existing time at my current job be until I move to Texas? Something like that, you know. Do not ask any question that can be answered with a yes or no, because the cards can't say that, you know. I have seen ways to do readings on simple yes or no answers, so maybe we'll see that in here, but I believe that came with like a Rider-Waite deck or something. Ask instead, what will happen if I do this, right? Or what will happen if I don't do it. The decision game will then show you the respective consequences so that you can reach your decision more easily. You should not connect a number of interrelated subjects. So just pick one question at a time. Do multiple reads. Instead, ask the cards individual questions on the various areas, right? So break it up. The question should not be, should I choose Harry or Carl? But rather, what will happen if I decide upon Harry? What will happen if I don't decide upon Harry? What will happen if I decide upon Carl? What will happen if I don't decide upon Carl? The more readings you do, the more practice you're going to get. The more familiar you're going to get with the cards, the more familiar you're going to get with the suits, the major arcana, the journey. So I really think that that's something to stick with. You should not connect a number of, wait, that's for Harry or Carl, but rather what will happen if I... This can be followed with what happens if I get involved with Carl, and what happens if I choose not to. If the prospects are then dismissal in both cases, yet the cards do not show a favorable alternative, this may perhaps refer to a known or unknown third party. In the original phrasing of the question, you would not have noticed this, but would have only discovered that your plans were problematic one way or the other. You should be just as careful not to connect various interrelated subjects into a question, such as, how will my vacation turn out? And will I fall in love in the process? Ask instead how the vacation will turn out using the card layout system of the Celtic Cross, which is in here in a different chapter. The path, and with the path probe, what you can do to fall in love again. So Crowley is suggesting different layouts for different types of questions. And to break it up. So make sure that when you ask a question, it's only in regard to one specific topic, and then go ahead and do another reading on that second question that you've got. But don't try and jumble a bunch of things into one. Really try and figure out a good solid question, a direction that the question is going, and one at a time. And just do multiple reads. You'll have more practice, you'll get better. Alright, shuffling, drawing, and laying out the cards. Whee! Decide upon a system of laying the cards corresponding to the way you want to ask the question. Then shuffle the cards. You only have to mix them extensively with both hands on a table or the floor when you want to interpret the reversed cards. What? You only have to mix them extensively with both hands on a table or the floor when you also want to interpret. Oh, when you also want to, okay. Listen, y'all, this book just told me this. Damn it, I don't want to shuffle my tarot cards because I just laid them out for a video. You know how you shuffle playing cards? Like, break them in half? Okay. You can do that. Or this kind of shuffle where you're just... You can do that if you were... If you're not going to do reversed card meaning readings. But if you are going to do reverse card meanings, then you need to do a big shuffle either on the floor or on a table, where you take all the cards and you just do. During that shuffling time, be asking Spirit to help you with the readings. I wouldn't be thinking of the questions. I would just be thinking of asking Spirit, you know, have a candle there. Spirit is closer to us, I believe, with candlelight. So, but make sure that if you're going to do reverse card readings, and that means when the card comes upside down instead of right ways up, where the writing is upside down. For reverse card readings, do a giant shuffle every time, in between every different question. Okay, you only have to mix them extensively with both hands. Okay. In any other case, the manner and thoroughness of mixing has no meaning. So literally you could just do one tiny shuffle and it's enough. Afterwards, from a large... but listen, when you get your tarot cards, they're going to come in the whole order of the journey, so you need to shuffle them really well. Well, actually, when you first get them, look through them, get to know them, bond with them, keep them in your purse. You know, they'll bond with you. Keep them in the moonlight with a little crystal on top with a point. They make these special ones that just lay on the top of your card and point toward the moonlight. So... let's see. We're so close to the frequently asked questions. Afterwards, from a large fan with the face down cards, then check how many cards you will need for your first chosen layout. So when we get to the different choices of layouts that will be coming up in this book, then you just choose what layout you need and draw that many cards. Next, draw these out of the card fan with the left hand. Next, draw these out of the card fan with the left hand and lay them face down upon each other, one at a time. When you have drawn all necessary cards, this is just when you're drawing out of the fan, put the others aside. So write that down in your Book of Shadows, you guys. That's the proper way that you're supposed to do this with the Thoth Tarot, okay? Then take your cards and uncover these in the order in which you have drawn them, which means at the bottom one first. The first card you draw should be the first card you laid down. Okay? But you're supposed to put them in a pile. Choose it with your left hand. Like, all of these things are important because one hand is for giving and one hand is for receiving. And you know, in alchemy we have a lot of really good traditions, for lack of a better word, or rituals. Okay, take your cards, uncover these in the order of which you have drawn them, which means the bottom one first, and lay these in the order and according to the pattern shown in the respective illustration. The interpretation is the next section. Individual consideration. When interpreting, you must first associate the special meaning of the card with the meaning of the field in which it is found. This naturally becomes easier the deeper and more thoroughly you delve into the meaning of the card. If the cards are to a large extent new to you, the texts in the interpretive sections will be an important help. There you will find the descriptions for the most important levels of meaning and all of the cards, general, profession, and relationships. The section that describes the cards on the level of consciousness and primarily focuses on the inner levels of experience for minor arcana is suitable for defining one's position and for questions of self-awareness. In any case, you should read the general meaning in order to understand the theme of the card and the theme-specific interpretation. if you have enough time and interest, you should at least read something about the meaning of the individual symbols. At least for the most important cards. Your understanding of the cards, and thereby your interpretation of them, will gain in depth by doing so. It is completely normal if in the initial it is completely normal if in the initial individual consideration of the cards you only attain clumsy, meager, or less than understandable statements. Damn, these sentences are long. Do not let yourself be confused by this and come to a standstill. Simply continue on to the next card. That's what I do. If I get started, I have no idea, I just kind of move on. Because that's what I do in life. If I'm taking a test, honestly, if I'm taking a test and I don't know the answer, what do? We move on, we come back to it. We don't let ourselves get mentally stressed out. You just leave it for the end. While you're in a good mental state, before you start to get upset and confused, do the rest of your reading and just come back to that. Yeah, do not let yourself be confused or come to a standstill. Simply continue on the next card. When you look over the cards at the conclusion, you will usually understand them much better. Now let's talk about reverse cards. We said in-depthly, if you're going to do a reverse card read, you need to put all the cards on the floor of the table, do a big old shuffle. Not just a little hand shuffle, you need to do like it on the floor. Reverse cards. Some people who read the cards given them another... I'm going to start over. Some people who read the cards give them another interpretation when they appear upside down. You will find possible suggestions for interpretation of this under the heading of the shadow. And what we mean by that is when we go to the Fool, there'll be a section that says reversed reading. There will be. Where is it? So, in the sections, there'll be when the card is reversed, and that is really cool. Because it's really hard to figure out, and if you're one of those people who tries to go on YouTube to find out reverse readings, because I did the same thing, is so difficult. And then especially for the Thoth deck, because it's not like the Rider-Waite or a lot of normal decks, okay? So let me get back to this. And then we're really close to getting to those really fun and exciting questions, alright? You will find possible suggestions for interpretation in this under the heading of the shadow. We normally do not differentiate this in this case and simply turn the card around the right way. So you can do that too, but here's the deal. Before you even shuffle the cards, you need to decide in your mind whether or not you're going to do reverse card readings, right? Because that would even depend on how you laid the shuffling. But not only that, because once the cards are laid, they need to be read the way that you thought of it initially. You don't change your mind then and do upside down readings if you didn't prepare for that. Or if you prepared for a reverse reading, you don't go ahead and just do it normally. All of this matters. Gain your own experience in this way. We normally do not differentiate in this case and simply turn the card around the right way. Gain your own experience in this matter, but always decide before starting, which means before which is what I just said. In the latter case, you should definitely mix the cards. Okay. Synopsis. The synopsis occurs at the end of each interpretation. To do this, connect the previous individual statement to a unified message. This does not mean that it should not contain any contradictions. Our life, and therefore also the cards, are frequently full of contradictions. Their interpretation should not remain piecework, but rather be united into a conclusive total statement. let the individual stages ripen into an entire story. For some systems of card laying, it is helpful to interpret the cards in a certain order or to pay attention to special correlations. In these cases, you will find the appropriate suggestions on how to proceed with interpreting in the description of the card laying system. Quintessence? I really want to see where it's showing upside down, but I guess I'll let it go. Quintessence. If, in conclusion, you wish to have another... Wait, did I read synopsis? I did. If, in conclusion, you wish to have another statement as to what actions the asker should take in relation to the topic, you can determine the quintessence. Quintessence. Add together the numbers of all the uncovered cards. They'll have numbers on them. Or wait. Taking into consideration the following exceptions. All court cards, these are knight, queen, prince, princess, counted as 0 and aces as 1. Okay. If the result is a multitude number greater than 22, continue to add the numbers crosswise. For example, 365 is 3 plus 6 plus 5, so it equals 14. The new cross sum is then 1 plus 4, because that's 14, equals 5. Continue until you have just a single number. Oh no, continue until you have a number between 1 and 22. The trump card of major arcana that corresponds to this number will show you how to proceed. I've never heard of this system before, I'll be honest. I'm a little confused, but I guess it's making sense of it. If this is a double-digit quintessence, you can find the decisive topics behind it by, again, forming the cross sum. To do so, use the keywords from the headings of light and quality in order to understand better the concluding suggestion made by the cards. Oh my gosh, we're finally on to frequently asked questions. You guys, I'm reading this book to you from start to finish. Literally from start to finish. So, what I have to say about that is there are sections that I don't understand when I read. I'm not an academic scholar. I wish that I was. I would like to be. But me putting myself on here and reading to you guys, it makes me a better reader. So I apologize for any trip-ups that I've got. Thanks for joining me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, while we are together decoding and understand Crowley's Thoth Tarot. Have a great day. Ta!